And hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Social Radio. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Max Wagner, Chickasha Paranormal Research Society, Oklahoma Paranormal Alliance. And Sarah.
I'm the grandma of the group. I'm Sarah Riley, Chickasha Paranormal Research Society and Oklahoma Paranormal, whatever, yada yada. Hi.
I'm Dustin with the Stevens County Apparition Research Society and Oklahoma Paranormal Alliance.
And tonight we have James Annitto from Rhode Island, demonologist.
Yay!
Bob Dole.
Thank you.
So, we can start. Do you want to just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the paranormal and demonology?
And most definitely, I'll give a quick rundown. I could give a whole spiel of how I got in this field, but basically, I've been in the field for 12 years. I had no personal experiences when I was young. I was just somebody that was very, very severe analytical. Growing up with how religion kind of affected the human society, evolution, stuff like demonology. So I was kind of grew up kind of progressively learning the ins and outs of the human culture and the spiritual culture of the human society. So, of course, researching, reading books at the library and stuff like that. I watched Unsolved Mysteries, Scooby-Doo growing up. It was kind of a formation of my foundation of my childhood. So when I was, old enough to come up with my own group, I was able to. But, at like 14, 15 years old, I'd go out with an analog tape recorder, which I still use to some extent to this day with, a camera that you would actually have to, produce the film, stuff like that, and go out to graveyards with, friends. Nowadays people go to graveyards and kind of cause a ruckus. We'd go there peacefully and try to speak to what we could communicate with, and that built to I was 18 years old where I formed my own group. And luckily enough, being around it's a extreme culture bound of all different investigators. So, but creating my own group and kind of creating a background of people since doing this for 14, 15 years old, I got to meet a lot of people and got to come across one of the Johnson brothers, Carl Johnson, and pretty much started my extreme demonology studies from there. Even going on a few cases with him and kind of understanding the difference between that aspect of the field and investigating. And I was a tech manager back then. The funny thing about that is when I was tech manager, the REN pod first came out. So that's been a long time. And I try to dabble with equipment here and there, but what you guys use nowadays, holy crap, blows my mind. But, so that's kind of my steps of being in the paranormal for 12 years. I've been on about 400 plus cases, so I've been really keeping busy, but that's a little bit about me. I don't want to give too much without any of your questions, but a very extensive amount of time working with a lot of cool people and been to a lot of cool places.
How long have you been studying demonology?
As almost like more than probably about a little over half of the 12 years, so maybe 7, 8 years. So pretty much very early. I got to meet Carl and of course, other influences of that field very young, aka starting at 14, 15 years old. So, a lot of people look at me, baby face. Yeah, definitely. But, the thing is though, is I got in it so young and spearheaded my time into it. I can't say paranormal has been part of my life every day, researching wise or, talking to somebody, dealing with paranormal situations. So it's been around for a lot. Been around. It's been a ride.
So how did you?
Have you had it?
Oh, go ahead,
Go
Sarah.
ahead, Jen.
No.
No, well, I have
You
one
go ahead.
question. I'm sorry. Have you found that anything from your experiences has interrupted your family life or affected your family life or come home with you? Question.
Very good question, actually. Yes, I like to call it my humbling experience. The one thing that the human mind does, and a lot of us do, is a thing called ego. A lot of us have it. A lot of us need to understand how ego implements into the paranormal. So I was on a very not really bad case, actually. Surprisingly, it was a case that I can't really go in extreme depth with my cases because they're confidential, but I can talk a little bit about them. But I went into a case with severe ego. I was helping people, and necessarily lost the case of why I help people or what I invoke to help people. And I got it into my head, I was speaking at all these lectures and conventions across the country, going to all these places that most people wish they could go in this, lifetime. It got to my head, and I'm man enough to admit that I did that, and I went in there so full of myself that walking away from that case, it took me a long time, but I like relating everything to the paranormal, because I really think if you put every kind of button on the paranormal, then you kind of disrupt yourself in this field. But
Right.
I gathered an attachment, and it took me a long time to understand that, because big bad myself, I can't get attachment, but having friends that do have abilities and have garnered them and been born with them and developed them, every time I talk to one of them, phone, person, through online, they were like, "Dude, you're not yourself. What's attached to you?" I'm like, "Nah,
Yeah.
nothing." But I went through a lot. I lost my girlfriend. I lost my apartment. I lost my car. I lost my job. Just so many factors happened where, you could say that's normal life. Yeah, it is. But just so progressively, and, I changed. I started excluding myself from people, started becoming more emotional. And it's not like those things haven't ever happened in my life, but it's just in so much consistent order.
Yeah.
But yes, to say yes, I have had an attachment, but it was also a humbling experience. And of course, people listening, regardless of what you do, that attachment percentage is always there. You're never 100%. So you always got to be 100% on your game, and 100% mindful of what you do as well.
Right. So, who helped you with that? I mean, to overcome it.
Well, being a demonologist back then, or being a spiritual warrior, I worked with other people. That's the good thing about some aspect of what the Dominion ministry is, even though it was around back then. A lot of people who were in my life are a part of it now. But I used to work with Night Group Paranormal, Joe Andrade. And Joe actually, a few months had went by, and whichever, and I got a call from that, client again saying we're dealing with stuff again now. Joe gave me a deliverance, and I don't tell anybody they should do this, but I felt some kind of, not revenge, but some kind of aspiration, some kind of calling that I need to go back to that house as a different person to go help those people. And went with Joe, of course, and I kind of showed my progression, and even though it was in a few month period of time, showed my maturity and showed that how once you get served humble pie, how you should eat it and how you should kind of change yourself.
That's good. Okay, that's cool.
How did you? You said you met up with Carl Johnson. How did that actually happen?
Well, luckily enough, so when I talked about 18 years old, and we don't talk anymore, but a few people that were on the show on Haunting, Rips, the episode Demon Attack. So basically, I knew a lot of the Rips members that were part of that show, and became good friends with most of them. we had social endeavors together. We did whichever together, and we started investigating. Even though I wasn't part of RIPS, I was still kind of like a guest investigator. I would go out starting a few of them. So of course, on that episode, they had the a pleasure to work with Dina Palazzini and Carl Johnson Beyond the Veil. And starting to talk to Carl, I went from my team Ghost, which we had created, and kind of went in with Beyond the Veil and became the tech manager. And that's pretty much how I met Carl, through one of the members that, acquired his number after the case they dealt with for the Demon Attack episode. So that's how I got in touch with Carl, and then of course eventually Keith as well, down the road.
So what's your favorite place out of all the places you've been to? What's your favorite place you went to investigate? You could drop everything right now and go to. What is it?
There's two locations, actually. Any day in my life. There's two. On the East Coast, it's S.K. Pierce House, the Victorian Mansion. I've been there over like 7, 8, 9 times. I don't remember, but it's a great location on the East Coast. It's up in Massachusetts, in Garner. And then my Tide place, and a lot of people laugh at me, but I love it. The place is cool. Waverly Hills. I've been there twice. I love the place. Tina is an awesome soul. I love Tina to death. So, it's a great place. Every time you go there, every time you take that drive up that dirt road after the gate, you're like, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
It's like, that light plays on. It's an awesome place. Love it.
I'm sure now with being with you studying demonology and being involved for as long as you have been, that you've been on some pretty serious cases. Do you actually recall and how when it was and how you felt the first time that you actually encountered something that was demonic?
Yeah. Well, one thing about me being a demonologist, I actually and it's very well known in the public. I should say public, like I'm some famous like Brad Pitt. But for the people that follow me and know my opinions of this field and my theories, is that I actually just utterly dislike the word demon. I think it's an overpopularization of popularity nowadays. I think you can't correlate that word to much without scaring people or getting some kind of hysteria to that word. I think it's a misunderstood word. I think everybody nowadays believe everything's demons, blah, blah, blah. But the truth, to be honest, to tell you, I've done this for 12 years, 400 plus cases. I can only, in my stamp of approval, and of course I do things through a different process than a lot of people, and I have different theories than different people, but I don't believe I dealt with more than 7 true demonic cases in my lifetime. And that just shows you how of a percentage that I believe that something of true evil, what a demon is to me is true evil, compared to a negative earthbound spirit. But every time that I'd actually dealt with a true demonic case, I would lie to you to say that hasn't followed me every day of my life. What I experienced, what I dealt with, and I would say, every time. And I've only dealt with 3 possession cases, like 3 legitimate possession cases that I could say, possession was the common trait without psychological issues or anything like that. And every single one of those has affected me deeply, and maybe the madness of it and the difference of what I've seen. I never ran away scared. I always stood my ground, but it still follows me. I still have nightmares here and there about it. I think that's just the qualifications of the field I am. It's like a law enforcement official, after something they see it's severe and they have nightmares, it's kind of the same aspect. I've seen some very crazy stuff that most people probably in their life would ever not see. And, all the explanations were there.